Hibulb Conversations welcomes Nicole Sieminski, Executive Director of the Tulalip Foundation. Today, Nicole shares how her life's travels have come full circle to provide leadership and service to the people of Tulalip. Hi, and welcome to Hibulb Conversations. I'm Mytyl Hernandez, and today we're here with Nicole Sieminski. Welcome.
Hi.
So nice to see you today.
You too.
Today we're going to be learning about the Tulalip Foundation, but first we'd like to get to know you. Tell me who your parents and grandparents are.
My parents are Peter and Doreen Spencer Sieminski. My grandparents are David Spencer Sr. and Viola Jones Spencer. And on my dad's side, Frank and Joyce Sieminski.
Tell me where you were born and raised.
So I was born and raised here, hospital in Everett. I grew up here on the reservation. My parents still live in the same house over in Marysville West.
And what schools did you go to?
I went to Marysville-Pilchuck High School, Marysville School District, and I went to Marysville-Pilchuck High School, where I graduated in 1999.
And you are the tribe's first valedictorian.
Yes, as the first tribal member to be valedictorian. It was very exciting. It was definitely, I had been a good student like early on, and so I don't know, after the first or second year, I was like, oh, I would really like to complete this.
Yeah.
I'd had my straight A's for a couple of years, and so it's like I can hopefully take it all the way through.
It was your goal?
Yeah, eventually it did become kind of I can do this, let's just keep these A's going.
Yeah. And did you give a speech?
I did. Probably the most, very nerve-wracking, especially considering when I was in high school. It was probably my first big speech. I've done a few since then. It's gotten a smidge better.
Do you remember any of it?
Do I remember any of it?
It's not like written on your wall somewhere.
It is not written on my wall somewhere. I do remember my final thought, which sounded very profound when I was in high school, but
cannot wait.
It was Carpe Diem, seize the day.
Okay.
So, we were just starting out. We were heading out into the world as adults, so It's like, let's see what we can do with it.
Yeah, it's still relevant. I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good for everyday use. What did you do after high school?
So after high school, I went to Stanford University in Palo Alto, California. So also very, very different from growing up here in Marysville,
right.
Tulalip. And I spent 4 years down there. I majored in history and Native American studies with a minor in art history. I really enjoyed it. It was a great opportunity to start exploring, because when I left here, I thought I was going to be a doctor, and did a complete 180 and studied history.
Okay.
And then I've gone from there.
What was that like growing up here, Tulalip, and then moving to Palo Alto?
It was very different, of course, but it helped that Stanford is basically its own little city. So it wasn't probably as jarring as it could have been for some bigger universities. But I made my best friends down there. I still have friends from high school, but I'm still very close with a group of girls that I met at Stanford, and we are aunties to each other's children.
That's
basically.
Amazing. What did you do after that?
So when I left Stanford, as I said, I did history, Native studies, art history, so I decided to work in museums.
Okay.
I was kind of waiting for Hibulb to be built. I knew it was coming down the pike at some point. In the meantime, I went to work at the Denver Art Museum. I was the assistant to their education curator for Native arts. And so we got to work with, as it sounds, their Native art collection and preparing all of the education aspects that accompanied that collection. And it was very cool. If the Denver Art Museum has an amazing collection just in general, including their Native arts. And I really enjoyed it. Although Denver is a bit too far inland for me.
Is it?
It is. I didn't think that would be a thing, but apparently it is.
You missed the water.
I did.
Yeah.
So I spent a year there. I honored my year-long contract, and then I decided it was time to head back to the West Coast.
And where'd you go?
I went to LA.
Okay.
Actually.
Back to California.
Back to California, Southern California this time, and worked at the Autry National Center, which included the Museum of the American West and the Southwest Museum of the American Indian. And so I spent 3 years there working with both, they were putting their entire collection online. So I started helping with that, doing all of that kind of object descriptions and posting and like the photography aspect. So if you can check out their entire collection online now, I helped with that and then moved into like collections management actually. Mostly at the Southwest Museum of the American Indian. Again, I think it's actually the oldest collection on the West Coast.
Is it?
Oldest and or largest.
Wow.
So again, a really nice collection, and I got to help take care of that.
And where did you live?
I live in Santa Monica.
Okay. Did you love that?
I did really love Santa Monica. Yes, Santa Monica was great. After 3 years at the Autry, I decided to go to law school.
Okay.
And I ended up at UCLA School of Law. And while I tried living near campus for a year, I did then immediately move back to Santa Monica.
Okay. And how long were you at UCLA?
So law school is 3 years. So I did 3 years of law school, graduated in 2009. And then I worked for UCLA for another 2 years, both on a federal grant that I'd started in law school as a student assistant. I became project manager when I graduated. It was doing a study on criminal justice in Indian country. So big picture across the country, look at all the different types of systems that occur on reservations, from your police, courts, and jail management, all of the different combinations that you get. Wow. I became project manager of that when I graduated. And then I spent 6 months on a kind of a study project for the American Indian Study Center that is at UCLA.
So you're at UCLA earning a law degree. You had just came from museums. Mm-hmm. Tell me how that happened.
So as I said, I was working with collections at the Southwest Museum of the American Indian, and part of the it wasn't necessarily programming, but what they needed to comply with was NAGPRA, the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act. And so it was not we had a NAGPRA coordinator who worked directly with the tribes as part of that. That was not my role, but I got to see it. Yeah. And so it really kind of piqued my interest in the law. The museum world is very small. There's not a lot of room for advancement, especially if I wanted to stick with Native collections. So I decided that it was time to explore something else. Okay. And it's kind of a, not random decision, but kind of random decision to try law school. Yeah. And I was like, okay, we're going to try it. And I did it.
I love that we started as a doctor and just the evolution of change. Yeah, that's amazing. Thanks so much for being here and sharing your background. We're going to take a short break and we'll be back with more Hibulb conversations. Welcome to the Hibulb Cultural Center and Natural History Preserve, where you'll discover the journey of the Tulalip tribes. Our interactive displays introduce you to the legacy of the Tulalip people told in our words and voices. A journey for all to experience. Welcome back, and today we're here with Nicole Sieminski. Will you tell us about your return to Tulalip?
So I came home in 2011. I'd been gone for 12 years, but I knew it was one of those things. I always knew I was coming home. I left in 99 to go to school. I got what I call my wanderlust out of my system. As I said, I moved around a little bit. But I always knew I was coming home. I just figured I would do all the moving before, because once I came home, I was going to be home.
Yeah. What were some of the jobs you initially had upon returning to Tulalip?
So I got hired on in October of 2011 with the Tulalip Office of Civil Legal Aid. It was the legal, where there was opening in the tribe's legal system. Mm-hmm. So I started with Tokla basically as their paralegal, because that was the legal position that was open at the time. But they knew I had my law degree, so they gave me a little bit more responsibility, probably than a usual paralegal. And that actually relates to my current work, because that position and that program at the time had been started by a grant from the Tulalip Foundation. So I technically was hired under the Tulalip Foundation for Tokla and the work that they were doing. And then from Tokla, Tokla became a part of the Tulalip Tribal Court, and I became the kind of a court project supervisor. Wendy Church was the court director at the time, and so she gave me kind of assorted court projects, including still managing Tokla, but then I got to take on some other projects for the court as well.
When did you leave the court?
So the executive director position for the Tulalip Foundation came open when my predecessor got detailed up to the general manager's office. They needed someone to take over the foundation. And because I was familiar with the foundation grants and some of the work that they were doing, I was asked to step in that role. So that was probably spring of 2014. So I was doing half-time Tulalip Foundation, half-time court projects, and then I moved to full-time for the foundation in summer of 2015.
Tell me about the Tulalip Foundation.
The Tulalip Foundation is our nonprofit organization here on the reservation. We are both a tribal and a federal nonprofit. We have our 501c3 status through the federal government and the IRS, so we are able to accept donations that are tax deductible for our donors.
When was it created?
The Tulalip Foundation was created in 2007, actually by Mike Taylor in the Office of Reservation Attorney, helped with its creation, and Don Houle was our first executive director. And we were actually originally created to help raise money for the Hibulb Cultural Center. My understanding is I think we raised almost $1 million to help with the construction here. As I said, Mike Taylor created the founding documents and completed that process for us. And while we were originally meant to fundraise for the Cultural Center, he also made it so that in the future we could have a much broader vision if and when our Board of Trustees decided that we were ready to do that. So our original mission statement was empowering the well-being of the Tulalip community, which at the time meant opening or help opening the Cultural Center, but in the future could mean a number of things.
Why was it important for the Tulalip Foundation to be a 501c3?
It was just another mechanism to go after other funding sources. While the government is eligible for funding in different ways, nonprofits are eligible for other funding sources in their own way. A lot of foundations and grants want to give to a 501c3, and so that made us eligible for that funding. For example, the grant that we got for the Tulalip Office of Civil Legal Aid, it was a federal grant, but it was specific to nonprofits, providing legal assistance for tribal communities. And so while tribal government wasn't eligible for that funding, which meant a lot of tribes across the country were not eligible to receive this assistance, Tulalip had its own nonprofit, and so we were able to apply for that funding and get it.
How does the Tulalip Cares charitable contributions program differ from the Tulalip Foundation?
Tulalip Cares, our charitable contributions program, is separate from the Tulalip Foundation. Tulalip Cares receives its funding from, I believe, our gaming revenue. And as part of the compact, it goes to nonprofits in the community who are doing great work. But they do have their source is set, and it has a specific guidelines that how they give it out. Whereas for the foundation, we raise money for our tribal programs. We are focused more internally and what is serving the Tulalip community. For now, that means our mostly tribal programs and tribal departments, or very local groups who are doing good work, like on the reservation and our surrounding community. But the money that we have for our programs is what we bring in through donations, through grants, and then we give it to the programs to use. And so it's I only have so much to give as what I can bring in.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing this history, Nicole. When we return, we'll hear about the current projects the Tulalip Foundation supports. Welcome to the Hibulb Cultural Center and Natural History Preserve, where you'll discover the journey of the Tulalip tribes. Our interactive displays introduce you to the legacy of the Tulalip people told in our words and voices. A journey for all to experience. Welcome back to Hibulb Conversations. We're so happy to have Nicole Sieminski with us today. Now that we understand about the Tulalip Foundation, can you tell us how it's grown?
So, as I said, I took over full-time in 2015. At that point, we had started expanding a little bit. We had 3 support areas: culture, justice, and education, because we had gotten grants in each of those 3 areas. We started with Hibulb, raised a good amount for opening, and we had continued to accept donations for Hibulb through both payroll and a per capita deduction program. We got a couple of grants for TOCLA. In that time, I actually think we had gotten 2 for TOCLA and actually 2 for the tribal court for their criminal conflict counsel program. And then we'd also received, I believe, a Gates Foundation grant for some education work. So in 2015, while we had started this little expansion, it seemed like there's still a lot of room for growth and other programs that we could support within the tribes. We have a lot of programs doing good work here, and so wherever we could help, I wanted to be able to do so.
Will you tell me a little bit about the Board of Trustees?
Sure. So the Tulalip Foundation is governed by a Board of Trustees, which is different from the Tulalip Tribe's Board of Directors. The Board of Directors manages tribal government. The Board of Trustees is dedicated to the work of the foundation. We currently have 6 members. We have 5 tribal members and 1 tribal parent, tribal spouse. He's also a tribal employee, so he's very much involved in the tribal community. Mel Sheldon Jr. is our chair. He is a tribal elder and has been a member of the tribe's board of directors for many years. Patty Gobin is our vice chair. She's another tribal elder and does special projects for the Treaty Rights Office. Glenn Gobin has been with us since the beginning. He is a tribal elder, tribal fisherman, and he is a former member of the board of directors. Rochelle Lubbers is our current acting CEO. Marjorie James works in the education division as the curriculum and engagement manager. And Mytyl Hernandez works for the tribal health systems and their finance department.
How has the Tulalip Foundation evolved over the past 15 years?
I think it's evolved a lot, actually. So, as I said, when we were created in 2007, we were created for the Hibulb Cultural Center, and we were dedicated to empowering the well-being of the Tulalip community. That can mean a lot of things. So, when I took over in 2015, we started adding tribal programs and community projects to our kind of stable of programs that we support. This led us to a strategic planning process that we completed last year in 2022, where we really revamped our vision and mission statement to reflect where we are, again, after about 15 years. And so our new vision for the Tulalip Foundation is holistic philanthropy for a thriving Tulalip community, which is, again, it's always kind of what we've been working towards, but we've now memorialized it. And we updated our mission statement as well. So the Tulalip Foundation promotes the well-being of our past, present, and future by gathering resources to share with tribal programs, nonprofits, and its community at large.
What type of projects are being supported right now?
As part of the strategic planning process, we also revised our project support areas. As I said, when I started, it was education, justice, and culture. But we've really grown the programs since then, and so we revised our project support areas to better reflect the almost 20 programs that we now currently support. So our current project support areas are cultural and natural resources, law and justice, education and workforce, community and development, and health and social.
A little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything because, as I said, we are here for the Tulalip community, and there are a lot of good programs here serving the community, and we want to support where we can.
Can you share some examples of things that you're working on?
So, as I said, we support a wide range of tribal programs and community projects at this point. For example, in cultural and natural resources, the Hibulb Cultural Center is still one of our main focuses. This is where we do our actual annual in-person fundraiser. It's the only one that that we're very closely involved in. But we've also now support our natural resources programs like the wildlife program, the restoration, acquisition, and stewardship program, the rediscovery program, and also the treaty rights office. On all of those programs are doing good work. We've been successful in getting a few grants. So we got some BIA grants for the treaty rights office. We've gotten some foundation grants from other foundations for the restoration, acquisition, and stewardship program, so that they can continue their good work, which I'm very excited about. For law and justice, we still support the Tulalip Office of Civil Legal Aid and also the Healing to Wellness program, or actually it's the Healing to Wellness Court at the Tulalip Tribal Court. The Healing to Wellness Court is a program that is really trying to reach out and support those clients who have had criminal charges related to substance abuse issues. And so it's a wraparound program that really is trying to address the underlying issues for why they're committing the crime. And once they complete this program, hopefully they are clean and sober. They help with housing, with education, with jobs, whatever they might need to get them on a good path. And so that we're able to help that work, it really means a lot. And as you can imagine, TOCLA is near and dear to my heart since that's where I started. Yep. For education and workforce, we support the Betty J. Taylor Early Learning Academy and their Parents Committee. The Parents Committee supports the families as a whole. And I'm happy we've helped with their silent auction. They do like a little silent auction and dance for the families, yeah. And we've helped with that. The Lushootseed language program is one that is new for us, but we're excited to see how we can help them. They provide a lot of outreach to the community, and they've just been doing it on their own. But for us to be able to accept donations on their behalf, they're not able to accept offers of like an honorarium or a stipend as employees or like through the department itself. But this is another great thing about having the foundation as a nonprofit is we can accept those donations on their behalf. We also support the Tarot Vocational Training Center and their work that they're doing to help tribal members join with their vocational training, which is great. And then we've also started a new relationship with Quilceda Tulalip Elementary. One of the current projects for Tulalip Elementary that I'm really excited about is we received funding from Foundry 10 to restore the story pole that's been sitting at the elementary school for the last 20 years. It was carved by Al Charles, as I said, kind of 20 years ago but being outside, as you can imagine, it's cedar, it's deteriorated. And so with this funding that we received, we've been able to contract with Mr. Charles again, and he is working on the restoration project right now. Quilceda Tulalip Elementary is where basically almost all of our kids go here on the reservation. And so that if we're able to support their families, they've gotten donations to meet the needs of the families who are struggling, and so for us to be able to help manage that has been really great.
Oh, I bet. For
community and development, we support the Veterans Program. We've accepted donations on their behalf. We had a local, I guess I'll call him a local philanthropist, who knew somebody for a national foundation, and they came and built a brand new deck and ramp, like handicap ramp, over at the Veterans Center, and so we were able to accept that donation on their behalf. And also the Veterans Quilt Project, which is great. It's a group of Tulalip women who decided they wanted to make quilts for all of our Tulalip veterans. We're now going year 7 or 8. And they are just working their way down the list. They started from oldest to youngest. They've made anywhere from 7 to, I believe, 10 quilts a year, and they're working their way down the list, and we're able to help. They donate their time and effort for it, and some materials, and we're able to help.
I think it's meaningful for the quilters, those talented, wonderful women, and it's so meaningful for the veterans that have received them. Yeah. I've been witness to many of those events, and it is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. And then finally, in our health and social area, we include the Legacy of Healing program and the Children's Advocacy Center. Legacy of Healing is our domestic violence program here, serving the Tulalip community. And they help mostly women who are leaving unsafe situations, and so the donations that we bring in on their behalf go to provide direct support to those women who are leaving unsafe situations and in meeting their needs, whether it's something like groceries or gas or a car seat that might have gotten left behind. And so to be able to do that, I know honestly one of my favorite memories for Legacy of Healing is when there was a safe house open for several years here on the reservation, and there was going to be a Christmas where I think they had 3 women and their children living in the safe house. They were going to be over there over Christmas. We had some funds that had been donated, and I was able to take them Christmas shopping.
Oh, that's amazing.
We went to Walmart. They were told to just go pick out what they wanted to give as gifts and things like that. I met them at the registers, and I mean, it still gives me a very warm and fuzzy feeling.
Santa
like
Nicole.
I feel like Santa a lot of the time. And for a lot of these programs, that's what it can feel like. We are able to just say, like, what do you need today? And I am able to go get that for them. We don't have the tribes have been great. They provide a lot of support. They fund these programs. They fund the staff. But there's always a little bit more that can be done, I feel like. And so we're able to provide just that additional resource that they can go kind of even beyond what the tribes is able to support.
How are these projects and programs supported by the Tulalip Foundation?
All of the funding that we bring in goes directly to our projects. So we receive grants and donations, whether they're federal grants, family foundation grants, or donations from individuals or companies. And all of the donations that we receive go directly to the projects that they are identified for. So if someone wants to donate, we have somebody who donates $100 a month for the Restoration, Acquisition, and Stewardship Program. And so 100% of that goes to
right there.
that program.
Okay.
Or the grants that we bring in, as I said, we apply through the Tulalip Foundation on behalf of, say, TOCLA. That's what I'm working on today. And all of that funding will go directly to TOCLA. Thankfully, the tribes are very generous and are able to provide a lot of in-kind support to the foundation, including my salary. So everything that we bring in can go to the programs.
Instead of operations.
Instead of operations.
I think that is so important. Yeah, that's amazing. For people who want to help support the Tulalip Foundation, how can they get in touch?
So we do have a website. Everyone can visit tulalipfoundation.org. I would encourage you to do so. We also accept donations through our website. You're also welcome to give me a call if you'd really like to, if you want more information.
Yeah. If people are looking for support of the Tulalip Foundation, how can they get in touch?
So I would be happy to talk with anyone who has a potential project that benefits the community. As I said, we do have a board of trustees who evaluates the programs and projects that we support. But we're always open to new ideas.
What does the future look like for the Tulalip Foundation?
I think the sky's the limit. Right now, I'm a one-person shop. It's just me. So while I'm executive director, I'm also the admin assistant and the everything else. And so I spend a lot of my time doing project management and administrative things. Hopefully here in the next couple of years, it's one of our goals of our strategic plan is potentially add some staff who might be able to dedicate more time to going after that additional funding. Right now I'm dependent a lot on the departments for their help. And so if we had a dedicated staff person to search for those funding opportunities, that would be, I believe, amazingly beneficial for all of the programs that we support. And so to be able to continue that work and grow that work is very exciting for me.
Thank you, Nicole, for coming today and sharing about your life and how the Tulalip Foundation helps our tribal community. For more information about the Tulalip Foundation, please check out their website at tulalipfoundation.org. Thank you for watching Hibulb Conversations. I'm Mytyl Hernandez. Until next time.